Fox Sports 910.
That's right. Rick Horrow now joins us on the Right Toyota guest line. How are we making out this Thursday, Rick? What's going on?
I'm at home. It's 104 degrees. I hate hot and humid climates. The only advantage is that I'm relatively cool compared to your neck of the woods. I don't know why anybody stays in Phoenix during the summer, but that's another story.
Why, you're knocking our city? Is that what you're doing right now? You're knocking our city?
Yeah, well, I am. I'm knocking every part of your city in the summer. Too many mountains, not enough water. Golf course prices are too high. Your buddy gives me grief because I wear black socks to play golf. I mean, there are a lot of things that are really negative about, and these are just but three of them.
Yeah.
So what do you want?
You feel better?
Right.
You feel better now, Rick? Get that off your chest?
And by the way, most important, none of your teams will be in the Pac-12 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah, you got that right.
How's that?
Yeah.
Soothsayer Rick Horrow.
Hey, Rick, I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your thoughts on ESPN partnering with Penn Entertainment. ESPN Bet. That's what it's going to be renamed. That's their exclusive sports book, as people are hearing about it now. And of course, in the past, they had multiple partnerships with Caesars and DraftKings. And I just wonder, the once taboo nature of sports betting, and now the worldwide leader, or at least that's the title they like to continue to call themselves, say they're going to stress being responsible for gambling. But how can they do that with the journalism and they're trying to push a certain way? You're going to tell me that someone's not going to call from Penn and say, hey, you guys need to push Broncos hard. Push them really hard because it's not getting enough action in the book. Could you? I mean, that could happen, couldn't it?
Well, everybody who starts publishing odds tries to emphasize responsible gaming. I mean, that's been the game since 2017 when all this started to be legal. And I could remind you of the stories when I was out there working on stadium stuff on behalf of the NFL. And I was told, try to find public money and try to find other stuff, but you better stay away from, gaming revenue. You better stay away from casino sponsorships because the NFL is not going to touch it. Now they've got 7 partners, so it's always that evolution. 3 years ago, ESPN said when, we had a reclaiming of the organization from the kind of ABC Disney side, that they may look for a gambling partner to throw in with and basically turn over all of the opportunities to. It took a while, but I think the shoe is on the other foot. I think they've, found their purchase. The Barstool deal was in 12 states at least. You're going to see ESPN's name all over, kind of like they tried to do with the retail restaurants a while ago. And, we're going to see an entirely new face on gambling, but it's not a new story. It's the expansion of the same story.
Rick, how much will that add when you look at all that revenue coming in off of this scenario to their TV packages? Pretty much spread the wealth from something like that, even entice more money, more markets, what have you, or do they try to keep that separate? I could just see them kind of blending it, robbing Peter to pay Paul, to enhance those TV markets even more so.
Well, the blending of it makes sense when you realize that the TV deals that have been done, they're not at the end of the TV deal cycle. You would think the strategic time to do this is right when they were at end of deals that had not been renegotiated yet, so they can go in with a fresh start with bigger assets. And most of the deals have basically been done on the college level and on the pro level. Although, NBA, we still got to figure out what happens after 2025 and on. So certainly the assets are now worth more because the ESPN is going to do a masterful job at integrating both. They will. And you might expect that the talent purge of 3, 4, 5 weeks ago was a setup for this.
Do you think they'll ban their own employees from betting?
Oh, I don't. It's going to be hard to do anything that allows people to kind of feed into the perspective or appearance of impropriety. So I would think they're discussing that. The NFL certainly has, and there are a lot of other entities that are involved in gambling that certainly have. So we'll see how far they're willing to go to promote the heck out of it, as they now should, and where the line will be.
Rick, I can just see it now when the broadcasters go in on Thursday and they sit down with the coaches to get all their information, what have you. I don't know. I just sense that these coaches could be very guarded, ESPN, even though these announcers should be separate from all the above on anything being leaked. I think them becoming even more paranoid in their pregame meetings with these broadcasters that go over the air with ESPN.
Oh, I think that coaches are really good at talking a lot and saying nothing. I mean, that's what they learned. That's what I teach lawyers, at law school, to talk a lot and say nothing. And we also follow up with significant invoices, which should lead to appearance fee invoices. But sadly for me, it hadn't happened. So when you think about it, yeah, and it'll continue to. I know that. I get it. But when you think about it, let's remember that Fox Bet, all right, which is now shut down, not because they didn't like the idea, but they focused more on Australia and UK. That Fox was in the same boat, and you could have filled in the blank for Fox or anybody else when they were interviewing coaches and all. They had the same kind of relationships. It didn't ruin sports, and this is not ruining it. It's just adding another dimension to the issues we knew were coming after the Supreme Court ruling 5 years ago.
Rick, staying with ESPN Plus, they're losing subscribers first time in 5 years. If a platform like ESPN Plus is losing after so much steady growth over the last 5 years, is that a sign that maybe streaming could be getting to the point where it could be maxed?
Well, streaming is a wonderful thing because you can watch anything under the sun. We've still got to figure out a way to monetize streaming in a way where corporations and subscriptions are going to give us the ability to pay for all of this technical stuff. There's a price to be paid to watch every soccer game and every junior high football game and all of that. And I'm not saying it's not a great idea. It's just somehow you got to pay for it. And, I'm hoping that the guys that continue to stream will continue to, because I love the idea of everything in the history of the world being on television.
Rick, with all the movement into the Big 12 and into the Big 10 in reference to what we saw the last couple of weeks, we talk about benefactors for each school, for each program. What are some of the other benefactors not seeing? Obviously, we talk about the money that's coming to them, the recruiting, a lot of the ancillary stuff. But what are some of the scenarios, and how much more value will their marketing be, or on a dollars and cents wise, for these teams all moving on or moving forward?
Well, it all starts with the additional TV revenue that's going to be generated over time and the increased excitement. All the bean counters have done that for every school, and they all have their tolerance about when was the right time to jump and not.
3 minutes.
The point that ought to be made, I think, that's very serious in all of this is, the Pac-12, the commissioner / now the commissioner of the Big 3.5. I don't know, by tomorrow, maybe the Big 2, maybe the Big 1. I don't know what's going to happen with it, or the Pac-1, excuse me, Pac-12, Pac-3, Pac-2, is the idea that you have a revenue source that could have been existing with the Apple deal, with kind of subscription-based, not sure what it is, but it's a percentage. That's fine, but you can't fund new stadium deals. You can't fund new dormitories. You can't fund new program expansions off of speculative revenue. And that's, I think, a very important point, that if we ever did move to this, Apple model of no large rights fees and even higher subscription fees potentially, but not guaranteed, that most athletic directors or business planners still won't have their problems solved. And I think that's a very important point to make.
Well, what about Apple
2 minutes.
incorporating themselves with the Big 12, those TV packages and the ACC and all the above, and just says, hey, look, you're looking for another partner, we can handle all your streaming and we'll share the revenue. I mean, would the Big 12 and Big 10 take on another partner for that specific use?
Well, then it's found money. And I don't know if it's as exciting for Apple. I assume it will be, and maybe that's a way to do it. And again, the guaranteed revenue piece is really important. And if Apple basically says, all right, no, guarantees are off the table relative to streaming because we don't know if it's going to take off or not. We think it is, but we don't know if it is. It would be an interesting conversation, but I'm not sure everybody would jump at it.
Hey, last one, Rick. You're kind of in that ACC world down there in South Florida, and of course your ties up in North Carolina and Duke. Do you see Stanford and Cal joining? And they've expressed some interest, but I'm not sure if the ACC wants them.
Well, first of all, maybe your listeners are too young to know Rand McNally. Do you remember who Rand McNally was?
No.
Famous map maker. Remember, you get the Rand McNally globes and maps.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the guy who's been looking for a parking space for years. That's me. So when you think of it all, it'll be fun to see Stanford in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Wait, they're over the Pacific. What are you talking about? All right, and how about Cal? Same way. We don't care about geographical alignment anymore. We care about revenue. And I think the bottom line is that if Stanford and Cal have nowhere else to go, and maybe there's a discounted piece where they're in cheap, maybe that happens. I can't predict what happens with those schools. Some would say that they form their own conference and or go back to the Mountain West or do something. Maybe they're all independent. It's just I feel for them. You got to get out. You got to stay ahead of the curve. And my comment, by the way, unsolicited, but I will tell you that athletic directors have an extraordinarily difficult job to do, because if you talk to Ray Anderson, he would say the most important thing, I think he would say, is to protect the integrity of the department with all of the other sports that he's got and the facilities and raising those dollars. And, he has massive business opportunities that change every minute. And, I just, you can't pay those guys enough. Now, after we hang up, I'm going to go call them and I'm going to ask them for, free dinner.
A retainer. Yeah. Thank you, buddy. As always. That's Rick Horrow.
All right, man.
Follow him on Twitter. You can catch him on television, podcasts. He is all over the place. But the easiest is just go to the Twitter page at Rick Horrow. Hey, O.J. Simpson, he's in the news. He thinks that Henry Ruggs got off way too easy. Plus, I wonder if Minuch will support the band that got its own appreciation day